Hi, ladies and gentlemen. How are you doing today? I hope everyone is okay. Now, do you remember the three killings story that the BBC did? And I did an episode about it, making an analysis about that particular story and how, for the very first time, after a long cry by Ugandans, that Museveni, all of a sudden, the international media is now shifting accountability and shifting the blame towards the right direction, and that is towards him. That is why we are finding interesting scenarios that are happening in Uganda ever since the three killings documentary came out. So many things have been happening in the country. For example, we see that day when it was released, the following day there was an attempt on Katumba Wamala's life, one of the Ugandan generals, but the daughter unfortunately died. She was killed. Later we have seen Bobi Wine's car has been released, the bulletproof car. All of a sudden our brothers and sisters, 30 how many the people who were arrested in Kalangala, but notably of all is Nubian Lee as well as Eddie Mutwe. They were released. Now, as I speak right now, there is as I am still gathering the facts, one of our candidates that ran in the previous election and became a chairman, like an LC5 chairman or a mayor of a particular district known as Kayunga, has been murdered in cold blood. Now, these events are happening rapidly in one way or the other. This can be attributed to a number of factors. Number one, it is either the increased accountability by the international community on the murders that took place on the 18th and the 19th of November. Now, those murders have led to more mistakes where there was an attempt on Katumba Wamala's life in order to kind of divert people's attention from these matters. Now, on that note as well, we also understand that they could be as a result of the overwhelming pressure that the government has failed to handle the COVID situation. But we see that the COVID has just erupted, a couple of days ago. But the documentary about these murders have been, has been like there for quite a while. And the expose that the BBC did is not that it was the first to be done by the BBC, but the BBC took a completely different angle because the Daily Monitor had already covered the story and had documented each and every person that had been killed. But just because Ugandans, we are very forgetful, we hop onto one thing after another. This is the African way of doing things, I think, and we do not insist. We do not insist on issues. We do not see issues through. For example, this issue of murder, it is one issue that is making Museveni sleepless because killing 50 people is not something, that you can just easily go away with, right? So, whereas we have been demanding our brothers and sisters to be released, whereas we have been demanding for Bobi Wine's car, whereas people have been swearing in, all of a sudden the entire country, 46 million people, have forgotten the 50 people that have been killed. And I do believe, me as a person, that pressure should be exerted. Pressure, accountability, justice should be demanded for the 50 people that have been killed. Everything else, for me, I believe that, everything, that is where the demand and the martyrdom, I don't know if the martyrdom is the right word, but we should be demanding these accountability for our people who were killed, because that Museveni cannot provide. That is what discredits him, because he can't bring these people back, he can't bring these children back, he can't bring these pregnant women back. Because look here, when he arrests our people and say like, oh, Museveni arrested our people, simply will say, okay, I will release them. Then following them, Museveni releases the people and that goes away. You say, oh, Museveni took Bobi Wine's car. Yes, we should be demanding for these things. But what do we put at the forefront in our demands? Should we demand for things that can be, easily sorted? Is that a word? But what I think is, besides everything, what we should be seeking for is seeking justice for our fallen comrades, is being there with these families, is making sure even people who died before them, those are the people that we should be looking at in this juncture. Now, if you think that it is not so easy for Museveni, or you think it is easy, or he killed people and he got away with it, my friend, you would be damned. Like, that's a lie. Because what is happening is, when the BBC released this documentary, I made an analytical video about it, and I released one, and then I made up also a follow-up video, because the government responded harshly. They were running helter-skelter all over the place, and they were, everyone was saying words like headless chickens and things of that sort. Now, when these police officers were identified by the documentary, a new story has come up from Echoto.co.uk, where they say that the police officers that were pinned during the documentary have since been forced or have since taken leave, or have been told to take some time off or stay away from the limelight because of these issues. Now, that's how serious things are. Now, police military officers on killer patrol flee into hiding. This is the patrol. You remember, for those of you who watched that BBC documentary, that was the patrol. And all of those officers have fled into hiding, and some of them have been told to take some time off. Police and military commandos implicated in the Kasese killing spree that manifested in the November 2020 protests have fled into hiding following exposure in a BBC documentary released on the 31st May. This site has learned. The said military and police officers were part of the crew that used Police Patrol 17 registration number UP5564 in the BBC investigation footage titled 3 Killings in Kampala. The implicated officers are seen shooting recklessly with impunity on the street of Kampala Road. The officers sitting on the left side of the police patrol vehicle were the prime suspects in the shootings at the Kampala Road that saw their killing spree leave over 7 people, including unarmed women, children, and a patient dead. The police and military officers whose faces are still blurry when the footage is zoomed have been identified by their seniors, according to our reliable sources in security. Quote, "They have been known. Everyone who was in operations that day is known," our sources say. They have, however, been asked to first take a leave and be out of the media spotlight, the sources add. The same source reveals that these officers are on the run already following the release of the documentary. They have fled already. Quote, "We don't see them in the barracks," our security source says, though the acclaim remains unverified. Now, this is a script that we know very well that Museveni always uses. Whenever things get worse for one of his henchmen, he always tells them, you know what, you first go somewhere, or he demotes them to a particular level. You remember Afande Mwesigwe, when he attacked Bobi Wine during his campaign trail, all these Afandes that were attacking Bobi Wine, all of a sudden they are nowhere to be seen in the media, they are away. We have seen so many military officers that have been put on Global Magnitsky Act sanctions and things of that sort. And all these, whenever you are in the limelight and you are on Magnitsky Act sanctions, Museveni demotes you. Same thing happened to Eleru, it happened to Kaihura, it happened to Sabit Muzei, it happened to Major Birungi, it happened to all these sorts of people. Now that is really interesting, because it means that whenever we put these people in the limelight, Museveni is most likely to shift them and take them away, and he will not come to their rescue. And if it means for him throwing them under the bus, definitely he will throw them under the bus, like he did to the former IGP General Kaihura. Now, for these officers, for them, unfortunately, they are not like renowned people, like, these are just corporals, lance corporals and stuff like that, lower rank. Now, for lower rank officers, if they are going to be a pain in the backside, especially if at all they are going to provide smoking gun evidence or testify or things of that sort, by telling them to stay away from the limelight, it is actually very, very dangerous for them. Because being down there while you are silent, it is easy for these people to be, whacked, and you can never see them again, and so that evidence is gone with them. So for me, if I was these officers, actually I would be making more noise that, hey, look here, I was not part of anything of that sort. But they have been lied to that the government will protect them, that Museveni will protect them. I can assure you, ladies and gentlemen, from my experience with Museveni, he will always throw you under the bus so that to save his backside. That is it. That is how things work with him. That is how he has dealt with the people he fought with, the ministers he has worked with, the people he has always gotten out of the opposition and taken to work with. He will use you as a toilet paper. And then, like all toilet papers, after being used, they are of no use and they are dumped in, those holes, whatever. So flush you down the toilet, literally. So these officers have also been, cited. And what is interesting is that they are going to be held accountable one day or one time. And these people are known. You see, like, most people think that, they might think, Museveni will protect us, but Museveni will leave power. Museveni will go. And this is on record. This is all documented, right? So where will you go, my brothers and sisters? Instead of coming out now and deciding and say, you know what, I'm done with this, please, this is what happened. Now, the international community, by BBC releasing the documentary, it was really, really a punch in the gut for the NRM regime. Because what technically happened is the fact that, the BBC has a very wide audience, right? And by doing this, Museveni's lobbyists failed him. His contacts in London as well as Washington, they all failed him because he never saw this coming. He just doesn't understand how these people could have carried out an investigation within Uganda and came out with such a video without his knowledge. He really doesn't understand, because this is like investigative journalism on the next level. So what this shows us is that if the BBC wants to do something, they will do it. They will do the right kind of journalism. Unfortunately, for the past few years, they have not been so much on the side of the oppressed. But with such kind of journalism, it is really, really a good move. And that is why you saw a lot of backlash that they received from the NRM apologists by writing articles and, putting them under different names, that the BBC documentary was biased, which is really interesting. So, we wish the officers in hiding a nice flee now that they are on the run. But boss, I would assure you one thing. You can run, but like the old adage, but you cannot hide. We will find you. The people have already known who you are. Your fellow policemen are the ones that are going to snitch on you. And when the people know who you are, they might not do something to you or anything to you, but when the day of reckoning arrives, or when the day of, when the day comes and tables are turned, you will be held accountable for shooting babies, pregnant women, teenagers, unarmed mothers, and unarmed civilians. You will not walk away with it. That is the truth. I can guarantee you that. Even in your graves, we shall come after you and put you before the courts of law. Like, metaphorically speaking, using your names. Alright, guys, thank you very much for listening. But this is it's really interesting that the pressure is really up and these guys are now on the run. Who else is going to run? Who? The Chief Justice or the Speaker or who else? Well, that will be something quite interesting to look at. Alright, cheers. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and have a blessed one. Enjoy the rest of the day.